Good morning, everyone. This is Miss Sans here, and we're going to be discussing today direct and indirect speech. So let's get started, beginning with our objectives. First, differentiate direct from indirect speech, transform direct to indirect speech, ask and answer questions coherently, and the most important one is to inculcate the value of love and friendship in relation to the proper reporting of direct speech. It's very important to take into consideration this value of friendship and love, especially if we want to share, the speeches or the words of our friends to others. So it's very important that we know how to transform them into indirect or reported speech. So what are direct and indirect speeches? Of course, direct speech gives the exact words of the speaker, usually written with quotation marks. And indirect speech gives the words of a speaker reported by another person. So in these two sentences presented to you, the first one is, I am the living and the dead, Jesus Christ said. So if you notice, for the direct speech example, there are quotation marks, there is a comma, and the one who said the words itself is usually found at the end of the sentence. Whereas if we're talking about indirect speech, it is like this. Jesus Christ said that he is the living and the dead. So if you notice, the speaker now is in front of the sentence, and then there is the insertion of the word that, and then I became he because it is our speaker, and it's not you who actually said the speech itself. Then it's a matter of adding, the rest of the words that our speaker has said. So the sentence is, like what I've said, Jesus Christ said that he is the living and the dead. Of course, after this particular example, we are going to be reviewing about, do's and don'ts about writing these two types of speeches. Beginning with, when changing direct to indirect speech, take note of the following for statements. So the introductory word that is used. Example, Jonah says, quote, I can keep my mouth shut for a week, unquote. So the indirect speech for that is, Jonah says that he can keep his mouth shut for a week. So if you notice, we inserted it with that, and then we changed some of the pronouns from I to he, and of course, we retained some of the words that were spoken by our speaker. Moving on to example number 2. When the verb in the introductory part is in the present tense, take note, the verb in the reported speech should also be in the present tense. So I will give you the chance to look into the two sample sentences presented to you regarding this particular rule. When the verb in the introductory part is in the past tense, the verb in the reported speech is also in the past tense. So in these two examples, if you notice, the words ate were used and both of them are in the past tense. So it's a matter of combining these first three rules in order for you to successfully transform your direct to indirect speech. So it doesn't stop there. Actually, there is a number 4. When it comes to WH questions, the question words who, what, how, and when serve as link between the introductory clause and the reported speech. So what I did here with these two sample sentences, we changed can to could. And then instead of using that, like what we used to, we're going to use the WH question to connect our speaker to the rest of the sentence. So remember, Anne asked John what, and then followed by the pronoun he, and then could, and then give him. So it's not what can he give him or what could he give him, but Anne asked John what he could give him. For number 5, if we have yes or no questions, the connector if or whether is used as the link. So again, this is not going to use the word that. Instead, we can choose between if or whether. So it doesn't really matter what you would like to use as long as the question that is asked in the direct speech is a yes or no question. So, do you love him? She asked. And then in the indirect speech, it says, she asked her if or whether she loves him. So actually, it depends on who you're talking to here, what particular pronoun you actually need to use. When it comes to verbs that tell, order, request, bid, or command, these are used usually in the introductory part. So in the example, give me that, Lynn says. The indirect speech now becomes Lynn commands, tells, orders, requests, bids him to give him that. So why is that? Why is our indirect speech that way? It is because you are ordering someone or you are requesting someone to do something. Hence, you are going to use the connector or the link, which is the word to, plus the rest of the sentence. And then it's only a matter of choosing what particular verb you would like your speaker to use in the indirect sentence. So you can use, like what I said, commands. You can use tells. You can use orders or requests, depending on the gravity of the situation. So it's all up to you because you're the one reporting the speech. If you think it's over, actually it's not. So we still have number 7, which just, supports what I've already mentioned a while ago. This has something to do with the infinitive to plus the verb. Is this used instead of the imperative form, especially in command? So the king told his servant to bring him food. So that's the important part. This, that, these, and those are changed to the if the repetition is done in a place different from where the speech was said. So for example, if the direct speech was said in Baguio, the strawberry jam is what I needed, Beng said. And then the indirect speech will be said a day after. So it would become, Beng said that the strawberry or the strawberry jam is what she needed. So take note, this becomes the or the, and then the word need now becomes needed because referring to our previous rules, we have to change it to past tense because the indirect speech is now said a day after when the direct speech was told. Then, of course, when it comes to adverbs of time, place, and manner, these all undergo changes from direct to indirect or reported speech. So kindly pause the video if you would like to, or take a quick scan of all of these adverbs and how we are going to change them into their indirect speech counterparts. So I'll give you one example, which is the word today. So let's say the direct speech is, I'll arrive today, she said. So that will now become, she said that she will or she'll arrive that day. So it's as simple as that. You're just going to change today to that day. Last night will now become the night before. Yesterday, the day before. Last week, the next day. The day after tomorrow, in 2 days. Tonight, that night. But since you are the reporter, you are the one sharing the direct speech to other people or to another person, it all depends on you. Because what is our point here? It is, of course, to give value to friendship, to love, to say no to gossip, to fight fake news. We are trying to avoid conflict, so it's better that we report these speeches of other people properly to avoid these, drastic consequences. We don't want to share fake news to others. So we have to listen carefully to our speaker, the one who said the direct speech, and to properly report it, we have to abide to the rules. So think about it. If you have your own reflection about this particular lesson, I would like to hear from you. Whatever it is that you can share, maybe you can give your insights. What is the most important lesson that you have actually learned aside from the rules? That will be all for our discussion for today. I hope that you've learned something. Thank you so much, and may God bless us all.